Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Hurricanes Camp Report. Joe Zagacki and Don Bailey Jr. talking University of Miami football. What could be better in August than talking Hurricanes football as we get ready for the start of the season? And in today's report, right in your wheelhouse, you're a former offensive lineman, you're a former captain, we got a great leader coming up, and the offensive line coach, Alex Mirabal.
What a great combination. I mean, Coach Mirabal, and when you talk about Matt Lee and how important it is for him to be here, Coach teaches the calls, Matt passes the calls along.
We're going to talk about the offensive line. We've talked about the offense this week. Behind that offensive line, the running back should find some room, and it's a pretty good group of running backs.
That it is, Joe. I think they've done a great job here of an infusion of talent at the running back position. You're going to see some added size, some added speed, and more importantly, we've got to keep those guys healthy.
Okay, we dig into the trenches coming up next.
Don Bailey with University of Miami offensive line coach Alex Mirabal. And Coach, you look real happy. You're always happy in training camp. A lot of work done, but football. How's your group doing?
You know what? I enjoy teaching, and I enjoy the fact that when you're in training camp, you're just teaching fundamentals, techniques, and you're not really worried about an opponent. You know, the opponent is yourself. The opponent is the defense. And, you know, I would say they're growing. The group is growing, and they're gelling together, getting the cohesion that you need in order to be successful on Saturdays.
Coach, you genuinely love to teach, and that's what you do every day. Share with us a little bit of your lesson plan. What's the preparation that comes in to the first meeting of the day?
Yeah, so, you know, to me, just like a teacher, you know, and I feel blessed because I was a classroom teacher for 16 years. So when I was in the classroom, you had to create lesson plans for the next day, right? So every night before I go throughout the course of the day, I'm preparing the lesson plan for the next day. And the lesson plans change a little bit. I used to have to write it in a notebook or whatever. Now it's a cut up. You know, you create a cut up, and you create a cut up in, you know, in sequential order as to what do you want to hit first with them. And that could be anything like, okay, hey, when we release on a screen, we need to be flat, right? So I'll put it up there, hey, release flat on screens, right? Boom, and then I'll have a bunch of clips, whether they're from where I've coached previously or whether it's NFL stuff or got people that I studied in the summer, and then you show it to them so that things can click for them, right? So that words become images to them. So, and I just do that throughout all the way down. And obviously, as a teacher, one of the things that I learned early as a teacher is always have more content than you're going to need, right? In case you go a little bit faster. So they laugh at me, the kids laugh at me, Coach, there's 150 clips on this cut up. You're not going to get through all of them. I said, I know, but you never know. So, and then, you know, so that's what we do. You know, so right now we'll go upstairs, we'll watch practice, and as we're watching practice, I'm taking notes, and in my head, I'm already devising, okay, when I leave this meeting, I got to create a cut up for practice number 7, right? And I'll create in a certain order as certain things that I want to show them first, second, etc. You know, and that's the way it is. You know, and heck, I've been teaching now I've been blessed to be teaching for over 30 years. So it's something that you become a creature of habit. You know, you can't just show up and wing it. You know,
oh, no.
And there's a certain way to do it, and that's why I think, you know, I've had teachers who've never coached a sport, but were great teachers, and I go, they would be a great coach, because a coach and a teacher is the same thing. So that's what we do.
Coach, what's the personality of your offensive line room this year? It changes every year, and sometimes it changes during the year. But right now, how would you describe the personality of this group?
An urgent group. You know, they're an urgent group. They're a group that has an edge to them. They have an edge to them in the classroom in terms of wanting to learn. You know, they have an edge to them when we go to walkthroughs. They have an edge to them on the field. Now, that doesn't mean, like today, you know, we ran short yardage goal line. Defense got after our tail. So it's not always going to, just because we have an edge to us right now, we got to put some physicality behind the edge, you know. And but I would say it's an urgent group, it's an edgy group, and it's a group that's focused on getting better. And I do think that stems from the leadership in the room, from Matt Lee, not from me, but from Matt Lee. He sets that tone, right? He sets that tone. Jalen Rivers falls in line with that, and then Cohen falls in line, and they all fall in line with that, right? So he's definitely the leader of the offensive line. But I would say this, that the offensive line has a great group of followers. You know, everybody says, well, that guy's not a leader. Yeah, no. You might have, in reality, you might have 4 or 5 leaders on a team.
Right.
Everybody that says that everybody's a leader, that's garbage. But what you better have is you better have a lot of guys that are going to follow the message of the head coach, the message of the assistant coaches, and the message of the players that are the leaders, right? And I really do believe that our offensive line group they have a great leader in Matt, and they have great followers.
Do you think anyone outside the world of football, I'm not even talking about the people that come and watch the game or even go TV, have any idea the amount of conversation that goes on from the time you leave a huddle to the time the ball is snapped? And sometimes that's less than 10 seconds a lot of time.
I don't think they do, and at the same time, they're trying to have those conversations on the line of scrimmage. The defense is having conversations. Right. Coaches are yelling at them, right?
And then it can change.
Right. And then the defense moves to something else. They move from 4 down to odd or 4 down to bare, and you got to change your calls. And then sometimes, like it happened today in one of our last periods, we made our call for 4 down, and as the ball's being snapped, our defense is moving to odd, and you got to adjust on the run.
Right.
You know, and to me, when they adjust on the run without communicating, that's a thing of beauty to me. You know, and Coach Dawson is, hey, you know, when the defense moves, do you want us to stop? I said, no. I want us to be able to block certain things on the run because there's a shot clock, right? So I love it. But I don't think the common person understands that, you know. And these young men want to do good. Right, they want to do good for themselves, their families. They want to do good for the program. They want to do good for the fans. You know, the fans think that they want to win more than the players do. No, sorry. No, sorry. They want to win. They're not trying to not execute on purpose. Right? They want to execute right for themselves, for Canes Nation. You know, and but I don't think the common person understands how much goes on there.
Today's world of college football, you can have turnover of 30 players, 40 players, 50 players, 60, 70% of a roster. How do you continue to develop chemistry and then an understanding of what the culture is of a program? How do you stay on top of that?
Well, it's first of all, you got to get the right kids. You know, you got to get the right young men, whether they're from high school, junior college, or the transfer portal. You got to make sure of that. And then number 2, you just got to, your job as an assistant coach is to implement Coach Cristobal's culture, is to make sure that you're pushing that culture, and then that the leaders of the group, in this case the offensive line, are also pushing that culture. And it's, you know, Don, it's just a daily deal. Right. You know, there's no magic to it. It's just a daily deal. And one of the things that I do is I'm the least important person in that room. Matt Lee's the least important person in the room. Everybody else in that room is more important than I am. Everybody in the room is more important than Matt Lee. And if we all try to have that attitude, we're going to be all right. Right? And then Coach Cristobal, one of the things that he's always done when I've been with him, going back to 2007 in college, is he always says, look, it's competition. It's not threats. Right? The people that we bring in, you can't view them as threats. You got to view them as competition, and it's going to make them better. It's going to make you better, right? And Coach always says, right, iron sharpens iron, right? And that's what it's about. So it's just a daily deal. It's just a daily deal, and I think I've mentioned to you before, when the level of talent in a program increases, it makes your job as a coach more difficult.
That's right.
Because you got to manage that. You got to manage the feelings, the egos, the expectations of those players. But at the end of the day, if you're real with them on a daily basis, right, they'll understand that.
Coach, I appreciate your time very much, and I appreciate all your effort out here.
I appreciate you, Don. Thank you, brother.
Don Bailey with Coach Alex Mirabal. Don Bailey with offensive center Matt Lee. And first of all, Matt, welcome to University of Miami, and everybody we talk to is very glad you're here. What led you to the U?
Bunch of things. I think that the most simple way I can put it is University of Miami is a big family. The coaches, the staff, the players, everyone in it are good, genuine people that you want to be around, that are going to push you to work hard and become the best version of yourself on and off the field. And it was really an easy choice for me because of that.
How'd you end up playing center? I know the reason, but I want you to share with the audience. You didn't start in high school as a center.
No. High school, we ran a run-heavy offense. So I played tackle, not a true tackle, though, not a traditional, hey, let's go, do a bunch of different pass sets against the 5 tech in high school, whatever. Not like that, run game. But I was originally kind of recruited as a center really just based on size. I was a lot smaller back in high school, a lot more under recruited, and played center right when I got to college. Played a little bit of guard my freshman year, and then my second year, that spring, really prior to my going into the fall season, my second year, played full-time center and starting, and that's what I've been doing.
Matt, since you got here, I've watched that position very closely, and you seem to really embrace the requirements: leadership, communication, knowledge. You run that whole room, or you run that whole offense line. You like doing that, don't you?
I love it. It's awesome,
Yeah.
especially as I'm older now. I'm in my 5th year. It's not only is it a huge requirement of the center to be the leader on the offensive line, be a tough dude that's going to help out the left guard, left tackle, right tackle in the schematics point, but also be the leader in a mentality point for just the offensive line, but really the offense as well as quarterback, TVD. But I embrace it because it's a lot of fun, and that's the type of guy I am. I want to embrace that role.
Tell us about when you were being recruited here, when you have Coach Mirabal and Coach Cristobal in the room together at the same time. You three guys watching film, going over it. I think you had to know right away, this is a pretty good spot for an offensive lineman.
Yeah, no, and what you'd read about the pedigree of Coach Mirabal and Coach Cristobal is exactly what it is in real life, and the history they have, and what they've proven and done in the past and to this day. But in that meeting room on my official visit, where me and Coach Mirabal were talking, just talking ball, a bunch of kind of getting pretty deep and stuff, real like theoretical stuff and whatnot, having fun with it. And Coach Cristobal's chilling in the back, and where I'm like, say something real deep, and Cristobal gets up, runs down, points me, we need you here, in typical Coach Cristobal fashion. But they're great. Those two are O-line geniuses, and even better, man.
When I look at this offensive line, to your left-hand side, you've got Jalen, of course, and Javon, who came from Alabama. Then it's you, and you got Inez on the right, and Mawagoa on the right. Not many starts, not much experience. How do you manage the right-hand side different than the left-hand side?
Yeah, like either way, at the center position, I'm going to tell both sides pretty much similar stuff at all times, just because you can't ever over-communicate, especially when it comes to what we're running, the run game, the pass game. There's no problem with over-communication. Make sure everyone's on the same page. But it is undeniable that Jalen and Javion have a lot more starts, or older, more experienced than Coop and Cece. So there is time, Coop and Cece, they're smart dudes though, right? They're not dumb guys. They may be young. Coop may have only started a handful of games last year, going to second year. Cece may have just turned 18 and just got in college in January. But they're both more intelligent on the football field and off the football field than you'd think for their age. At the same time, realizing and knowing that they are younger guys that have less experience than the other side, I try to even more overemphasize and help out when I can, when there is confusion or when there's this and that, to get them on the same page and continually teach them.
Let's clear up any rumors. This offensive line, this football team wants to run the football. Is that correct?
Yes, run the ball. Yes. And we run the ball a lot at practice. If anyone comes to watch the practice, we're getting different heavy sets, a bunch of 12, 13 personnel. We're pounding the rock, and that's what we're going to do. Yeah, we don't throw the ball around. Coach Dawson's got all those elements in his offense. It's going to be a lot of success for us, but let's pound the football too. Heck yeah.
Thanks, Matt Lee. Don Bailey with offensive center, Matt Lee.
All right, we're in the trenches there with the University of Miami offensive line. It's an area that's true to your heart, and an area that I think is going to be a lot better.
It will, Joe, and I think it's getting a lot better because, first of all, they understand that the head coach, it's important to him to have a great offensive line. The offensive line coach, of course, is always heavily involved in making sure that happens. But the players in the room understand what's expected out of them, both on the academic side, outside of the meeting room, but also on the field and what takes place in the Learning Center.
I don't know about you, but when we arrive at the stadium, I'm getting off the bus right behind Maui Goa or Okunloina.
I'm with you, Joe. Don't forget McCoy. I think McCoy's another one to let go off the bus first. And also Cohen. We didn't say that a couple years ago. They've gotten a lot bigger and a lot stronger.
I'm just going to walk right behind those guys into the stadium. For Don Bailey Jr., I'm Joe Zagacki. Thanks for joining us on our Hurricanes Camp Report.